Morning everybody, Robbie King here at the Carrick in Loch Lomond. Welcome back to part one of our three-part session on how to hit a high draw with a driver. Today we're just going to look at the drill that I use to help people to get into the correct setup position when hitting with the driver. You know, what we're really trying to encourage is the bottom of our arc to be behind the ball so the club starts to work up to catch it on the way up. And also for the club to travel more from in to out rather than, as we spoke about in the introduction, the club swinging from out to in, cutting across the ball and hitting that slice and we just lose loads of distance. So one thing I always ask people when, you know, in the lesson tee where they go to hit the driver, I say, is there anything you do different from the iron to the driver? And one thing they say, yep, I move the ball forward, my stance up inside the left heel, which is great, you know, because the reason that we said we tee the ball up and move it forward because we're trying to hit the ball on the way up. But what I see happen too often is people who go from, you know, setting up straight up and down with the ball in the middle of a stance with the iron, and then they move the ball up in the stance, and what they'll do is they'll twist the upper body, keeping the spine angle straight up and down to get the club up and behind the ball there. You know, looking at it from down the line, and what the influence this has here is, you know, setting up again, ball in the middle of the stance and twisting the body to get the club up and behind the ball, is we end up with the shoulders pointing well out to the left here. You know, and if I was to tell you the main influence for the direction that a club swings through the ball is a shoulder alignment. If my shoulders are pointing left and my club's cutting across the ball from out to in, then what we really want to try and do is either get a shoulder square or even pointing out to the right so we can get the club to work more from the inside. So there's one thing, a drill that I like to use. What I'll do is I'll get people to set up, move the ball up inside the left heel, start as though the ball's in the middle of our stance, and then what I get them to do is we're going to slide the club up in behind the ball, really keeping the right shoulder in behind the left. If you notice what happens with my spine angle here, is my spine angle goes from being straight up and down to tilting away from the target. So do that again. Just slide the club up to the ball, feel that my spine angle tilts away from the target. You know, that's really going to encourage the bottom of our arc to move more behind the ball so the club can start to work up towards the ball. Just to show you what happens with the shoulders from down the line here. Ball in the middle of our stance, and then slide the club up, really focusing on keeping this right shoulder in behind the left. If I show you my shoulder alignment now, you can see where my shoulders are pointing out to the right hand side. So this is just a quick way that we can really, you know, it's a small change but it's going to help us influence the bottom of our arc to be behind the ball so the club starts to work up to catch the ball on the way up, but also gets our shoulders into a position where we can now start to attack the ball from the inside. So when you go away and practice that this week, hit loads of shots on the range. Let me know how you're getting on in the comment section below, and I'll see you next week for part two. I'm just going to go ahead and show you one. So we'll set off, club in the middle of the stance, and I'm going to slide the club up to the ball, keeping the spine angle tilted away from the target and the right shoulder in behind the left.